Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Friday Ramblings. I am your host, David the Bardic One, and that means we're going to have some fun discussing pop culture entertainment. You know what? The hair's there. It's all over the place. I don't care. You know why? Because I'm crazy. I'm kooky. You could even say I'm demented. Why would you say that? Well, because for you title analyzing, spoiler loving folks, we're going to do a quick nitty gritty breakdown on the man behind the legends of comedic music. We are talking Dr. Demento. Why are we talking Dr. Demento? Because, as I said, he is the man who helped perpetuate and revive the careers of many early century novelty musicians, as well as giving major coverage to more modern day ones, such as everybody's pal, Weird Al Yankovic. And hey, if you're one of Weird Al's buddies, you can't be that bad. So, let's discuss this man. And we're going to do it in another half hour of glory. Barrett Eugene Hansen, born April 2nd, 1941, is known professionally as Dr. Demento, and is an American radio broadcaster and record collector who specializes in novelty songs, comedy, and strange or unusual recordings. Hansen created the Demento persona in 1970 while working at a Los Angeles station known as KPPC-FM. He played the song Transfusion by Nervous Norvis on the radio, and current station DJ The Obscene, Stephen Clean, said that Hansen had to be demented to play it, thus creating inspiration for the on-air persona of Dr. Demento. Dr. Demento's weekly show went into syndication in 1974 and was syndicated by the Westwood One radio network from 1978 to 1992. Broadcast syndication of the show ended on June 6, 2010, but the show continues to be produced weekly in an online version. That's right, folks. The man was born in 1941. He started in the 70s, and he is still going strong. As, fortunately, Dr. Demento is still with us. Now, Mr. Hansen has a degree in ethnomusicology, which means that he looks at music from the perspective of how it reflects on the cultural and social aspects of the people who make it. Which means, simply put, he doesn't just listen to a particular comedy song. He sits there and says, and it's not even just comedy, but that's the easiest stuff because that's what the gentleman is known most for bringing to attention. But he'd listen to a comedy song and go, okay, now, let's look at the comedy, what the person's making fun of, how they're making fun of it, and use this to get a better glimpse into what kind of culture he grew up in that would make him think this is incredibly funny. Because, that's the beauty of entertainment. Entertainment is a reflection of our culture. And he does this specifically with the music created by the culture. He's also written magazines, articles, and liner notes for recording artists outside of the novelty genre. So the man stays very busy. He wrote his senior thesis on Alban Berg's opera Wozzeck and Claude Debussy's opera Pelléas et Mélisande. Graduating in 1963 from Reed College in Portland, Oregon, later studying at UCLA, from which he earned his master's degree in folklore and ethnomusicology. But we want to know about the Dr. Demento radio show and how it helped perpetuate the novelty genre of music. As we said before, Hansen created the persona of Dr. Demento in 1970 while working at Pasadena station KPPC-FM. Positive listener response to the offbeat novelties that Hansen included in his rock oldies show led to his eventually turning it into an all-novelty show, and at the end of 1971 he moved to KMET in Los Angeles. From 72 to 83 he performed a 4-hour live show. From about 74 on, the local Los Angeles market was the full 4 hours, and the nationally syndicated show was cut to 2 hours. The show became a 2-hour live show on KLSX, and after that station converted to a talk-only format in 1995, he and the show moved again to KSCA, where it remained until that station changed to a Spanish language format in February 1997. Now, we said his weekly show went to a national syndication into a 2-hour all-novelty format in 1974. And from 78 to 92 was syndicated by the Westwood One Radio Network, which Westwood One is still in existence today and has a division specializing in podcasts. The Westwood One period marked the height of the show's national popularity. It was carried in most major radio markets, airing mainly on FM rock stations, usually late on Sunday evenings. Eventually, the show would be produced by a gentleman from San Diego named Robert Young. It was under Young's guidance that the show gained its most popularity, mainly due to his willingness to foster relationships with national media and with national known and upcoming artists, including Judy Tenuta, Emo Phillips, Mark Davis, aka Richard Cheese, Pinkerton Bowden, Wally Wingert, among others. Young accompanied Dr. Demento to Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, New York City, San Diego, Montreal, Phoenix, and other cities through live performances and PR events, taking the photos, setting up the interviews, and even running the board at some of the live shows. Eventually, in 2014, Young released an ebook titled Producing Demento about his memories of working on the show. You can track it down, give it a read through. From 1992 to 2000, the show was syndicated by On the Radio Broadcasting. And eventually, the Doctor himself would handle syndication from 2000 until discontinuing the syndication in 2010 under Telonian Productions, which, amusingly, most people did not realize it was essentially a non-existent production company, and he was running everything himself, despite the fact that Telonian never claimed to have any involvement in any other show than Dr. Demento. That's genuinely a pretty big hint in the entertainment industry that you are your own boss at this point. So, is that all he did? Is host radio shows? Of course not. He's also made occasional television appearances, such as on the 88 to 89 revival of The Gong Show, animated shows like Bobby's World and The Simpsons, and the Barnes & Barnes music video for Fish Heads. Now, the syndicated radio show format normally started with an hour of randomly chosen records and listener requests. The second hour was normally mostly devoted to a specific theme, with a final segment taken up by a Funny 5 countdown of the most requested songs. Like any good person, he would of course do various seasonal and holiday themed shows. Most famously, the Halloween and Christmas shows, due to the large number of novelty Christmas and Halloween music. He would later bring in a gentleman known as William Simpson, who, under the stage name of Whimsical Will, produced a weekly Demented News segment for the show since the late 1980s. And, things happen. as we said, syndication ended in 2010, specifically on June 6, 2010, due to diminishing viewers and financial stability. That June 6, 2010 episode would be the final broadcast in the terrestrial radio version. Dr. Demento would move purely to an online streaming version. New episodes posted every Saturday. Although he had already begun working with online options in 2006, 2010 is when he moved exclusively to online streaming, which is understandable. That's the nature of media. The internet has taken over our lives and has had a huge impact on the entertainment industry, especially when it comes to radio. So, the good news is that with an online show, since it does not have to follow formats set by the FCC for various radio shows, or having to fit in syndication time slots and making room for commercial breaks, shows now usually exceed 2 hours and may include bonus tracks at the end of the show, which is all good. You know, that is, as I said, one of the big things that online streaming has created is a lot more freedom, not just in what you can say and do on the show, but in the formatting of the shows. So, a lot of props to Dr. Demento for the fact that he has used the freedom of new technology to continue to push the boundaries of what he can do on the show to make it as entertaining as possible for his fan base. Hansen himself was married to Sue Hansen from 1983 until her death on September 10th, 2017. Hansen has had a long-time interest in the roots of rock and roll and R&B and country music and has written about it in many magazine articles, liner notes to compilations, and new recordings by a variety of artists, as well as 2 chapters on early R&B for the Rolling Stone Illustrated History of Rock and Roll. His shows and public appearances display an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of recorded music in general, from the earliest Edison cylinder recordings onward, and his personal record collection currently exceeds 85,000. So let's get on to the people that have got a lot of career themselves thanks to Dr. Demento. Of course, we mentioned Weird Al Yankovic, who is most famous for his parodies, although he does do original comedic tunes as well. Personally, I've always been a fan of his polkas. There's just something about Weird Al on that squeeze box. 1976, Demento spoke at Yankovic's school, where Yankovic gave him a self-recorded tape of comedy songs and parodies to the gentleman. And that first song, Belvedere Cruising, about the family station wagon, was featured on the show. The positive response from the listeners encouraged Mr. Yankovic to continue to record more parodies. Demento himself would fund Yankovic's first EP, Another One Rides the Bus. Hansen has appeared in a number of Weird Al's music videos, as well as in Weird Al's movie UHF. Other artists who obtained widespread exposure after getting airtime on the Dr. Demento show include the aforementioned Barnes & Barnes, who are most famous for their song Fishhead, Ogden Edsel, who's done the infamous Dead Puppies, Daddy's Money, and many others, Larry Wildman Fisher, Larry Gross, who did the infamous Junk Food Junkie, as well as Elmo and Patsy and their iconic Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. The show also helped revive and maintain interest in novelty hits from the 50s and 60s, including Alley Oot by the Hollywood Argyles, The Ballad of Irving by Frank Gallup, The Ballad of Cucamonga by Homer and Jethro, Monster Mash by Boris Pickett, one of my personal favorites, Hello Mutta, Hello Fada by Alan Sherman, They're Coming to Take Me Away, Haha, by Napoleon XIV, among many others. Hansen also revived interest in the infamous double entendre songs of 40s Borscht Belt comedian Benny Bell, especially Bell's signature tune Shaving Cream, as well as introducing the younger generations to the manic big band parodies of Spike Jones. Give me a second, and I will quote a couple specifics for you. Ah, yes. Spike Jones. The infamous Der Fuhrer's face, poking fun at Adolf Hitler. Hawaiian War Chant, You Always Hurt the One You Love. A parody of Vaughn Monroe's rendition of Ghost Riders in the Sky, where it was performed as sung by drunken and ridiculed Monroe. All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth. And many others. We also saw a revival of the career of Stan Freberg, who did St. George and the Dragonet, the Banana Boat Song, and several others. Let's see if I got a good couple ones up here that I'm familiar with. I've Got You Under My Skin, Nuttin' for Christmas, I'm Getting Nuttin' for Christmas. Don't want to sing too much there, don't want to get copyright struck, but look it up. It's a great song. The dark humor of Tom Lear, who produced one of my personal favorites, Poisoning Pigeons in the Park. And Demento has also worked with Frank Zappa, who has appeared several times as a guest before Zappa's 1993 death, due to which Dr. Demento hosted a tribute show, which was the first time the entire 2-hour show was devoted to a single artist. Perhaps one of the most famous highlights occurred in the late 1980s when the hard rock trio Spinal Tap, which themselves were a satire group, came in for a visit. This group, composed of Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, appeared in full costume and stayed in character as their Spinal Tap personas for a 3-hour visit. And even had an interview with fellow satirical comedy styling filmmaker Mel Brooks, who came in for an interview and was presented with a, quote, absolute huge cheesecake from Cantor's Deli. How big has Dr. Demento's show been? Well, it's like this. The guy actually produced CDs. These various novelty tracks, especially those ones done in previous decades that he had revived interest in, have been put together on a series of cassettes, CDs, records, whichever you want to, whichever format you prefer, such as Dr. Demento's Delights, Dr. Demento's Mementos, 6 volumes of the greatest novelty records of all time, broken up by decades except the last volume, which was Christmas themed, the greatest novelty CD of all time in 88, the greatest Christmas novelty CD of all time in 89, the 20th anniversary collection, the 25th anniversary collection, the 30th anniversary collection, and more recently, in 2018, Dr. Demento Covered in Punk. So, yes, Dr. Demento continues to produce a variety of radio. Let me try it again. Dr. Demento continues to produce a variety of content on his streaming show, which I highly encourage you all to check out. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and put the link to his official website in the description down below. It's not something we do a lot, but the man has just so much content, and I want to make sure that anybody who has never dealt with Dr. Demento before and sounds intrigued by some of these songs, maybe you heard them when you were a little kid and you're like, God, I haven't heard those in years. You can check out his official site to see what you can get going for yourself. So yeah, we're gonna have that in the archive. We're gonna have that in the description, so you can check out his site, see what he's got in his archives, see about listening into his radio show. Although I guess now it'd be a streaming show. It's radio format inspired, but you can still call it a radio show. It's not like he's got his big mug in your face like I do. Big mug, big mug. I am the big head. Big head. So there you go. But more importantly, whether you look at the official website, whether you just look up individual songs on YouTube, the big lesson we want to take from looking at this down and dirty, quick and sleazy look at Dr. Demento is that if you love something and you can find a way to make it work for you, you'll never have problems finding work. The man bounced from radio station to radio station, and he never stopped going. When technology made streaming more affordable and gave him a potentially larger audience, he jumped on it. Again, he did this and started experimenting with it in 2006 and went exclusive in 2010. That was 10 years ago. It wasn't quite as easy for any average schmuck to jump on back then as it is now. I should know I'm an average schmuck. So, as a man that has pushed through as technology changes, as formats change, as audiences change, but yet still has an incredibly healthy respect for the past, you know what? I'm going to salute you. Do it with that hand too. Well, we're going to give you both. Because you are truly one of the greats, Dr. Demento, and the fact that you have provided career longevity to so many great performers is a godsend. This is a classic case of somebody who knows that it's just not enough to be talented, that you can be talented in a way that helps other people's careers. Demento has an incredible fan base, but he always made sure, I can even say past tense, he always makes sure that you know at the end of the day, hey, you can't do what he does without the artists out there making all these songs. Dr. Demento has never been a one-man show. He doesn't make the songs himself, and he wants everybody who makes that kind of material to have an audience and have a career. Because come on, this is novelty stuff. This is stuff designed to make you laugh. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want in life. To be happy. Even if for an hour or two a day. Even if 30 minutes. You know, watch the show in chunks if you don't want to sit there for two plus hours. You know? Whatever time you got, give Demento a shot. Because you know you want to laugh. We all want to laugh every day. We can all use the laughs. So, do it. Check them out. And then come back here, like the video, give me a comment thanking me for exposing you to Dr. Demento, or reminding you of Dr. Demento if it's been a few years. You didn't even realize he was still doing what he does. Great. Because, just like Dr. Demento enjoys making you smile, that's what we're here for. Roulette Productions is all about positivity. All about constructive criticism, because if you just want to yell and hate, look, there's plenty of places out there for you to do that. We are your breath of fresh air. And we're doing it every single week. So subscribe. Come on back when you get those subscription alerts. And I'll keep rambling. Go click that link. Go familiarize yourself with Dr. Demento. Don't tell him I sent you because he doesn't know me. This has not been a paid advertisement, I promise you that. 7 days, I will return.